Good evening, everybody. It's Tom Stoukas coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario, on Tuesday, July 29th. Hope everybody's having a nice night. I've worked again in the 120-degree heat. I think I have a little bit of brain damage, but I think I'll be all right. I'll survive. It's supposed to cool down tomorrow, so I should be all right. The first thing, just going to talk about a few things. Our great leaders have been laying low today. Nothing from Doug Ford or Mark Carney, especially Doug Ford after he kind of made a fool of himself last week saying he's going to issue work permits for asylum seekers. Basically bypass the federal government. The federal government actually gives work permits to refugees, so it's not like it's a new thing. It's just the issue was Ford was going to issue work permits on his own, whereas before it's the federal government's responsibility. So I didn't even know they got work permits. Refugees, like I knew students or student visas, people with student visas could work and other visas, but I didn't think refugees could work, but apparently they're working away. So basically the only argument between Ford and the federal government is how fast can we get them work permits. It's pretty crazy. And, they're spending billions of dollars in hotels and other, basically supporting endless stream of refugees and migrants, third world migrants coming to Canada for economic reasons, because the countries basically have no economy. And this while cities in Canada are falling apart and are struggling with a lot of issues. On top of the immigration thing, I see Mark Carney sent out a thing today that we're sending a few more billion to Ukraine, loans or this or that. But, it's burned money. It's not coming back here. It's not going to benefit Canada. It's not an investment in Canada. So, on top, we're spending billions on the immigrant gravy train. I mean, staying free in hotels and food and whatever. And we're also spending billions on this globalist war in Ukraine. And they're not going to change that. We're going to be at war with Russia for a while. So that Ukraine thing ain't changing. Regardless if it's the conservatives or the liberals in power. But in Sarnia, my city here, we have so much negative things going on, and it's similar in other cities. And instead of working on these issues, we're devoting all our resources to administering the mass migration, plus the stresses it brings on the healthcare system, the education system, housing. And meanwhile, Canadians are being basically struggling to survive. The ones that still have jobs and still have households and that, they may have all that, but they're still struggling. Like, they're working their asses off, and they don't have much left over after they pay all their bills. But then the ones below them, the ones that are kind of haven't survived or haven't made out as well, you can't even afford a house, and they got to live in somebody's house or with relatives, or they're on the street or in a homeless shelter. So in Sarnia, we have 3 different issues. We had a homeless encampment in a park, and our city council was very weak on the issue. They let them stay, and ended up costing at least $1 million. I think it's going to cost $2 million, because from what I understand, the park's destroyed, so they got to redo it all. So, and not to mention the stress on the people that lived around there. Like, it was horrible. Can you imagine? They'd like destroy that park. And then now there's another church, actually close to my house. It's a former church, and they turned it into a homeless encampment. And they said it was going to be like a temporary overflow for the winter months. And we're middle of summer, it's still open, and they actually wanted to expand it to like a assisted living or something, or something where recovering addicts stay and go get services and stuff. But the city said no, we can't approve that. But it's still like a homeless shelter, and it looks like you're filming The Walking Dead when you drive by there. Like it's kind of weird. Like, and in the immediate area, you got people hanging out all day because where else they're gonna go. And so it hurts the people living around there and the businesses. I'm not saying they don't need help, these people, but these are, they're not getting help. They're just really destroying the neighborhoods, and they're not getting help. So, but we're spending all this money on. We're sending billions on Ukraine, spending billions on immigrants, and we can't even effectively help these people in Sarnia. And of course, every other city in Canada has the same issues. And then what's the third issue in Sarnia? Oh yeah. So they want to put a assisted supported living facility, 50 units or so, in a neighborhood in Sarnia that already has a homeless shelter. And it's been there's been years of neglect in this neighborhood, so there's a lot of drug addicts, and it's been like a crack hangout. There was an abandoned hospital, so all that got cleaned up. They put new apartments in, like years of neglect, and it finally got put in. The homeless shelter's pretty well run, like it's drug free, and so it's pretty chill place. But now they want to put near this homeless shelter it's called Indwell, and it's where basically people on drugs or trying to get off drugs live, and they get support and help and all this. But they've been known, these places are known to attract bad attention from other drug users and police, whatever. It's bad energy, let's just say. So the people that live around there are like, hey, we already got a homeless shelter near us. Why are we having this? And apparently the county donated the land to Indwell. So there's going to be a big public meeting next week on that. So basically, the reason I'm saying all this is we're saying, look how screwed Sarnia is. Just Sarnia. I just mentioned these three things. And there's probably a lot of issues we have with infrastructure and all. Yeah, we're sending billions to house hotels, immigrants, and to the Ukraine war. It's crazy. So, and then we got this. The other story of the day is the public safety minister, Gary Anandasangaree, whatever, he's a Sri Lankin, and he was embarrassed already because he didn't know any of the gun laws, even though he's in charge of the gun laws. He was like caught in Parliament, basically on the spot, not knowing jack shit about his job. He wasn't even born in Canada. He's born in Sri Lanka. He's associated with the Tamil Tigers, which were fighting for independence. So they were listed as a terrorist organization. Whatever. I don't care if they're terrorists or not. I care that, this guy was born and raised in Sri Lanka, and now he's the public safety minister. Like, I'm so against, like, there shouldn't be foreign-born MPs, and there shouldn't be foreign-born cabinet ministers for sure. Like, when I say foreign-born, I mean born and raised outside of Canada. It's different if you're born here and you're a baby and you grew up here. If you weren't born here, but you came as a baby, I mean. So, I don't know. Anyway, the latest thing with him is he's had to recuse himself because he was associated with the Tamil Tigers, which is crazy that he's a public safety minister. It's crazy that the public safety minister isn't even born in Canada. Like, other countries, like Greece or Poland or any other country, Japan, they would be like aghast at us, like public safety ministers from Sri Lanka. And the latest controversies, he made uh, he supposedly helped a constituent re, related to the Tamil Tigers to get into Canada and their family to get into Canada. But he lied because they weren't constituents. They were just happened to be Sri Lankan. So basically, it just shows what happens when you elect foreign MPs. They don't work for the constituents in the riding. They work for their ethnicity. Like the Indian MPs in the parliament, they don't give a shit what happened with the subway line. They care how many visas they're going to get for their 25 cousins. So that's what happens when you get foreign influence in the parliament. I mean, so that's my opinion. I think hopefully he resigns. I mean, he's incompetent, but we shouldn't have foreign MPs. I don't think they won't enforce that, but at the very least, don't pick them for cabinet. At the very least. And I guess Pierre, the by-election tonight, the debates tonight in Alberta. I don't know if he's going to be in the debate. He might not show up. I mean, he kind of has to show up because he would look very like a kind of a elitist if he didn't show up. So maybe we'll get some funny clips from that because I'm sure they're going to bug him about his past stances on immigration and all that. Okay. Hold on one sec. I just want to... I just had to shut the light. It was too bright in here. So, all right. So I laid out it's kind of a slow news day, but obviously some stuff. We'll do the immigration rundown, the immigration roundup. Why not? It's kind of quiet today, but we are in the dog days of summer. So there's that. All right. Let's go. All right, on the immigration front, in the immigration roundup. International enrollment falls by more than 60% at Conestoga College. Really? Yeah, Conestoga was probably one of those big ones. I'm going to see how many people they had. All right. The college said it had 8,584 international students for 2025 spring semester. A 62% drop from 22,000 students at the same time. Well, 22,000 students, come on. Of course, even 8,000 is too high. Yeah, okay, whatever. Their diploma, they're basically, oh God. 22,000 students. What are they, Harvard? So, it was just such a money mill for these guys, man. The Indians got what they wanted. They got their foot into Canada. And the college execs got the money, the bonuses. But they discredited their learned institutions, and I thought Ontario colleges were, they're supposed to help the economy by training our our workforce, our young people, to be the next generation workforce with the latest technology. Instead, they're making money off international students. It's ridiculous. So yeah, and this all happened under Doug Ford too. A lot of it. He let it come as long as money kept rolling in. He didn't care about education. Look at the guy. Do you think he cares about education? Okay, here's this thing about Ukraine. Spoke with President Zelensky earlier today, who's like ready to be replaced. Expressed my condolences to Ukrainian people following Russia's brutal attack on the southeastern region last night. Canada's support for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine is steadfast. We're providing continued financial, military, and humanitarian support for Ukraine, including recent sanctions package targeting Russia's shadow fleet and energy revenues, $2 billion in new military aid. That's a lot of money, and $2.3 billion. Oh my God, to help rebuild their infrastructure and public systems. I'm glad we're helping them with their infrastructure. Meanwhile, my streets got ready to fall apart here. So I'm not trying to, downplay the plight of the Ukrainian, but it's not our problem. We didn't, that's they've been fighting for a long time, hundreds of years over in that little area. So, yeah, that's going to be a year's thing. Like that money's going to keep going to that. Because we need to get into war with Russia, world war. Okay. That's the guy they want to replace Zelensky. Who's this guy? Zaluzhny. He posted an interview in Vogue following the interview with the new PM of Ukraine. Yeah. This is the replacement. We'll see. Yeah, he'll take the money too. That's like $5 billion. Plus other stuff. Who knows what other stuff. Like, I wonder who's getting their kickbacks there. Now, here's our public safety minister, Gary something, Anandasangaree. These Sri Lankans, Tamils have the longest last names. There's a lot of Sri Lankans in Toronto, or Tamils, Sri Lankans, whatever. A lot of them. They're very well organized. All right. So this is the difference. This is in stories about him recusing himself from files on 2 terrorist groups. So imagine that. The public safety minister of Canada can't be involved in terrorist group files. So it's pretty crazy. So he's in charge of border security, but he has to recuse himself from files related to Sri Lankan terrorist group and his Canadian Front organization. Yeah, let's make this guy, not only is he not born and raised in Canada, he's got very extensive ties to these groups. And, okay, whether they're fighting for independence or a just cause, that's a different story. We need a public safety minister for Canada, not for Sri Lanka. So hopefully they get rid of him. Look at this guy. And he doesn't know nothing about guns, or I don't think he knows anything about public safety anyway. But then the other story is he helped someone associated with the Tamil Tigers get people into Canada as an MP. And they weren't constituents. So it just shows how they don't work for their constituents. They work for their interest or whatever, their ethnic group, ethnic enclave. And then this is Surrey, BC. I've seen videos like this a lot, and they seem to be so common that people don't even bother looking at them anymore in shock. So Surrey, BC, we have tens of thousands of Canadians living in tents, and our government spends $1.1 billion on asylum seekers to stay in hotels, plus $5 billion for Ukraine just now. Why do they hate Canadians so much? Yes. If you're going to spend billions of dollars on hotels, at least put these people in hotels so they're at least not destroying the street. It's ridiculous. Look at that. All right. There's a picture of Doug Ford. He didn't do anything today. He's just trying to stay out of it. Hopefully people forget his work permit bull. Whatever the hell. He was drinking too much beer and he started talking about work permits. I don't know. You know when people drink and they start talking stupid? Doug Ford sounds like that kind of guy. His brother, when he got smashed, he was like a party animal. This guy just turns into a dummy. Look at him. He's been drinking too many beers at the old cottage. All right. All right. There's Trudeau. I guess Trudeau he's in the celebrity gossip. He was spotted with Katy Perry in Montreal. And I don't know if they're dating. But, they're both airheads, total airheads, so it makes sense that they would hang out. I don't know if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, but she probably has a ton of gay friends, so that would make sense if they're having dinner, catching up, girl talk. Or they could be going out. Who knows? Who cares? They're both part of looks like the machine. Here he is where is he, in the Alps? He's living his life. Good for him, I guess. We talked about this guy yesterday. He's some high-risk offender, serial rapist, not even a Canadian citizen, has a bail hearing this morning in Guelph, and when the judge is going to do their job in deport, he's been arrested 5 times in the last 13 months. That's crazy. Look at this guy. He looks like he's gotten worse, but it's like, how the hell did this guy get into Canada, and why is he still here? It's insane. This is Guelph. It's not GTA. This poor little Guelph. And you're gonna see this a lot. GTA is full. Okay, it's expensive, and they should start hitting the 401 and just spreading out to the cheaper markets. And Guelph is on the first stop. Yeah, look at this guy. What's his name? Medani Johans. All right. Here's Dominion Society of Canada. See how long before they get branded a hate group by the government. Multiculturalism has divided Canadians and erased our unique identity. It's time to end the failed multiculturalism experiment and return to our roots. Yes, I think they went a little crazy on this multiculturalism diversity thing. Way crazy. All right, another one from Dominion. In this age of liberal internationalism and human rights, the priorities of our government have been inverted. Our government should be singularly focused on the well-being of our people, which, they're not. Our problems are very fixable, but they don't want to fix them. They just want us going to the food banks. They want us going to the living, paycheck to paycheck. They're not trying to help us. It should not be the goal of our government to provide a better life for foreigners. Our government must protect the interests of Canadians. Yeah, but they're not. All right. Here's the story of Gary, Public Safety Minister Gary, lobbying for his. Let's see what this one is. So the other story was him he couldn't deal with cases involving the groups he was involved in. Now it's wife of terror group member backed by public safety minister does not live in his riding. So he said he was helping a constituent when he lobbied federal officials to let a terrorist group member resettle in Canada and is contradicted by documents on the case. He urged border officials to approve immigration. This is the guy in charge of the border right now. This is ridiculous, man. Oh my God. That urged border security officials to approve the immigration application of a suspected member of the Tamil Tigers. So the MPs do this. They write to the immigration, whatever, the border security, and they say, "Oh, I'm vouching for this guy." They do that. I don't know if they should do it, but anyway, he said he assisted the man's Canadian wife as an MP. That the constituent, a Canadian citizen with a Canadian child, would want to reunite her family in Canada is not unusual. But so basically, he lied because she's not even a constituent. She lives in Markham and he's in Scarborough. So basically, it's ridiculous. Like, he's basically the MP for Sri Lanka. You know, that's how it works in Canada. You're not a Canadian. You're the MP for India or the MP for Sri Lanka or the MP for China or Hong Kong. It's ridiculous. Some more from Dominion. Yeah, I'm sure once the Carney comes in with the online hate law, I'm sure they're going to go after these guys. Mass immigration is a problem and it's becoming too obvious to ignore. And yet our politicians turn a blind eye. It's time to demand higher standards. It's becoming too obvious to ignore. Yeah, I was talking to somebody today and saying how they're saying how their neighborhood is becoming, there's more and more Indians and more, people from out of town coming in all of a sudden to the neighborhood. And I said, well, it's happening. I hear the same thing from everybody. So it's like the politicians are like, you're crazy. Oh, they think they're saying you're crazy for noticing stuff like this. Let's see. Mass immigration is the root cause of so many problems in Canada, and everyone is starting to notice. Yeah, it is. But we had just had an election, and they didn't even barely talk about it. We just had a big premier's meeting ahead of the August 1st tariff deadline by Trump. Who knows what's going to happen there. And barely mentioned immigration, and the only time they mentioned it, it was to say to go make it go faster. So big disconnect between what Canadians are saying on the street if you go ask them and what our politicians and their priorities are. Huge disconnect. Let's see what he says here.
It was only after people like me and another video that was going viral, I don't know, 6-9 months ago. Looks like a liberal white young woman in Toronto who's like confessing on TikTok, me and my friends don't even go out anymore because we get creeped on by brown dudes. Multiple videos like this. People who are completely apolitical or maybe even more left-leaning, even they are like, WTF, mate. Like, what the heck is going on in Canada? And I want to go back to what you were saying about the healthcare industry, because there's so many things. There's so many negative impacts that mass immigration and multiculturalism is having across the board. Healthcare is just one. There's a lot of numbers to dig into there. There's a lot of things to expose there, and a lot of economic negative impacts when we have to pay for the foreign hordes that are showing up here in the hospitals, obviously. My one friend who has a pretty good job, he used to work on Bay Street, and he's like, dude, I don't want to have to pay for like all these Pakistani families' healthcare every year, because he pays a lot in taxes, obviously. The thing is, the Conservative Party of Canada, it's not like they don't know this. It's not like they don't know the numbers. Poilievre omitted, he lied by omission a lot over the past 3 years, leading when he had Trudeau to crap on and all this kind of like air and room, 3 years of time before the next election. He started all talking about the carbon tax. He never once connected the economic turmoil to immigration. He never once connected the housing crisis to immigration or even the healthcare crisis to immigration. This is dishonesty. This is flagrant dishonesty. You're supposed to expect this guy with glasses who's like super smart when it comes to the economy couldn't connect the dots between the housing crisis and mass immigration. Are you kidding me?
Oh, he
and it
could.
was only after people like me and other far-right people, only after people like Maxime Bernier was able to garner some attention, or only after kind of like news item after news item kept popping up, clearly showing mass immigration being a problem. It's only after all of that did finally Poilievre and members of the Conservative Party make that connection.
So
Suck his ass, Ant, suck his ass, Ant.
I don't know what that is. I don't want to watch.
Another video that was going viral.
So yeah, another Dominion society. They're putting out lots of stuff. I mean, but this stuff, they don't have an answer for it. All they're going to do is try and silence people when they complain about the problems caused by mass immigration. They're just going to be silenced, or they're going to try to silence. So it should be interesting. We're due for a good censorship law. Like, we're a little behind the UK on that front. All right. So there's her. Is he getting a spray tan? Is he trying to be like Trump, getting the old tan going? He's looking a little orange there. Anyway, here's another thing. It's immigration related. It's about Don Cherry, and it's what they did to Don Cherry, and the way they just totally, stabbed him in the back and left him to get eaten by the buzzards is very symbolic of what's going on. It happened to Canada. How people are punished for even talking about immigration. Like, Don Cherry is the case study, as what will happen to you if you talk about it. And Ron MacLean's a case study of the people that have enabled this stuff to happen in Canada, this woke globalist turn Canada third world shithole ideology. Look at Ron, this guy.
We see it in the travels with our show.
This is what he said after Don Cherry got.
That's what happened last night on Hockey Night in Canada. Don Cherry made remarks which were hurtful, discriminatory, which were flat out wrong. We at Sportsnet have apologized. It certainly doesn't stand for what Sportsnet or Rogers represents. We know diversity is the strength of the country. We see it in the travels with our show and with Hockey Night in Canada. So I owe you an apology too. That's the big thing that I want to emphasize. I sat there, did not catch it, did not respond.
You people love you that come here, whatever it is. You love our way of life. You love our milk and honey. At least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies or something like that.
Yeah, that's when it started going to shit. And and he's still left out in the wilderness, Don Cherry. I mean, yeah, he might have been a little. I don't think his comments were that bad at all. He's an old guy. That's how they talk. They're very direct, and they don't mass their words in pretty platitudes. So what they did to him was very extreme. I didn't like it. They basically destroyed his whole career in over one sentence. That wasn't even that horrible. If he would have said it today, nobody would have even blinked an eye. Because of the. But so he was head of the game. Poor guy. No Hall of Fame, nothing. Okay. And then the last. Here's this stat. This graph is crazy. Net international migration from 1952 to 2025. And you see that. I don't know why they did that COVID. I mean, if you look, it was. I don't know. Just shot up. Like, what the hell's going on there? That's weird. So, one of the most damaging stats in Canada's history. It's the fundamental cause to why Canadians can't afford a house, why thousands of Canadians die every year waiting for health care, and schools become overrun. Crime spots. For our politician, this chart isn't alarming enough, and the goal is to supercharge it until Canada's population gets to 100 million at all costs. So, if you look at this chart, it's like millions of people are coming in per year. It's unsustainable. But we see it as unsustainable, but people in Canada, the oligarchs, the McCains, the Westons, the Bronfmans, the whoever, the who's who, or the big corporations, Bell, Rogers, they're getting millions of new customers. That's all they care about, right? Why wouldn't they want millions and millions of new customers? Because, you know, they're all going to buy groceries. They're all going to buy cars. They're going to buy cell phones. They're going to buy phone plans, insurance, bank accounts. So, of course, they're going to want more the merrier. And they don't care because they're going to go to their private schools, their private doctors, private gated communities. As long as they get their millions of customers. That's what's going on, really. So yeah, a lot of like a powder keg. A lot of people are starting to get upset. So, like, the housing's ridiculous, the taxes are ridiculous, the immigration situation is ridiculous. So it should be interesting where we go. And, you know, the Alberta separatism thing still hasn't gone away. They're trying to delay it, but remember, Danielle Smith said Carney has about 6 months to, you know, show Alberta the money or show them it's worth staying. And, you know, it's been 6 months, it's coming on 6 months, and he hasn't, I don't think there's anything to show for it. So it should be interesting how the Alberta separatism thing goes too. As the summer ends, or after, you know, we have 1 month left in the summer, and then things start getting back rolling. People right now are just chilling out. So we'll see what happens. Dog days of summer now, so we could have some very slow news days. So our next broadcast will be Tariff Day, August 1st, deadline day, Friday. We'll see what happens as the trade negotiation deadline looms, and see if there's a last minute deal announced, or I don't know. I think more people are worried about, you know, not being able to afford a house and, you know, being a minority in their own country within 10 years than a few tariffs on whatever, like, you know, will probably get resolved anyway. But we'll see what Trump and Carney, if they work anything out. We'll be here Friday to discuss it. So until then, everybody have a nice night, and we'll see you then.